today, Bob?
Very good point. Day 7. Numero 7. Day 7. Which is wonderful. 81 nautical miles under our belt over the last 24 hours. Which doesn't sound fantastic, but that's firstly on a beat, and then secondly on losing the wind. We lost the wind during the night, and so we just let the yacht flounder around basically. She was doing a couple of knots, but just not going quick. So once again we figure that this boat 80 miles a day on the wind and 100 miles a day otherwise, planning, and then when she's off the wind a little bit she'll do about 120 miles, so the whole thing averaged out about 100 miles. We've said that before, but we're reasonably pleased with that, and we're very pleased at the moment. We've got 925 miles to go to our destination, and we have wind in the correct direction, and that's the most pleasing thing of all. So the wonderful guys at Commander's Weather in the United States, who told us that the wind would be on the nose initially and then become a little bit fluky and for 36 hours or 2 days, and then would go round into the southeast initially and then to the southwest and later on to the northwest. Well, so far they're absolutely on the money, and I know that we pay money for that service, so on the money is a good expression, but they've been absolutely right. The wind has done exactly what they said, and as we speak it's been round in the southwest, which has enabled us to go on a beam reach directly towards our destination, beam or even a broad reach towards our destination, and it's now just started to edge around a little bit further west. So whereas before we were doing about 070 degrees, right at the moment we're doing about 090, so we're going due east, which is a little bit south of where we need to go. But they've been absolutely right, and if it continues around to the northwest and then sticks in the northwest, it's another confirmation that the service is actually a really good one and worth paying for if you're that concerned about knowing about where the weather's likely to change. So I think yesterday, the last 24 hours really, we've been dealing primarily with the diesel fumes. We've spoken about that before. We've done about 3 good clean outs of the bilge now. And I think we've got rid of most of it. It still lingers a little bit down there, and I certainly woke up this morning after a few hours sleep with one heck of a headache again. So I think it's exactly that. It'll gradually dissipate. We pumped the bilge today and did a bunch of dry pumps on the bilge as well as the wet ones to exclude any gas or fumes that are down there, and at some point I'll rip all that up and give it a good scrub with detergent down there. So today, because it's been a little bit flat, I've been doing a little bit of maintenance and repair. There's a couple of little turning blocks down here just attached to the bottom of one of the stanchions. One of them takes the roller furling line, control line as it comes inboard, and the other one takes the guy for the spinnaker pole. I just needed to switch them out because one of them has become damaged, and the guy doesn't really take very much strain, but the roller furler one on occasion does, so I switched them out, so the better one is on the roller furler. That didn't take long to do. Repaired 1 or 2 other things around the yacht, nothing particularly spectacular, but it does reinforce again where you keep coming across these things that are slightly broken or have become haven't been serviced. You really need a servicing list on a yacht, and I don't have that. We don't have that, and we should do. It's something that we should work up. Where when the weather allows, you just go around the yacht and you check all the things on your list, and then if you come across anything that's wrong, you then get on and fix them. The diesel leak down in the engine room there, because I was feeling very seasick, it would have been very easy just to leave it. We decided to do the manly and heroic thing of actually getting in there and almost vomiting all over the place. Didn't quite do it, almost did. And actually fixing it, and as we've told you before, there are actually 3 leaks, so it took 3 separate goes to identify the 3 separate leaks, all on the same pipe, but darn things. And it's only a temporary repair that we've done, but it's important to do that. So a maintenance list going around the yacht would have been very, very sensible, and I think it's something for the rest of this trip I'm going to work up and begin to enact. And moving forward, for any other ocean passages that we have, we will definitely have that in place. Decanted two cans of two 5-gallon or 4.5-gallon cans of diesel into the diesel tank. We've actually used about 15 gallons, and given that it was almost flat calm for an hour or so, probably never going to get flatter weather to do that, and it's a messy old job, so got it done. So we have two left, two of those cans left on deck, and we have about 92 gallons still in the tank there, so about 92 hours of motoring time in the tank. So we do about a gallon an hour, and then we have the 9 or maybe 10 gallons on deck in cans as a contingency in case we've misjudged it, because our fuel gauge doesn't work on the fuel tank there, even though we had it newly installed in a in the Virgin Islands. So another thing that doesn't work. Darn those people! Hundreds and hundreds of dollars it costs to buy, and hundreds of dollars to install, and the darn thing doesn't work. How is it that a billion motor cars on the planet have fuel gauges that work perfectly okay? The fuel gauges on boats hardly ever work, or they always go wrong. It's very irritating. Still, there you go.
Rant over.
Rant over, yes. Decanted one of our 3 5-gallon cans of fresh water, drinking water that we have, leaving 2 still on deck as contingency for when the water tank goes. We do have bottled water as well stowed below, so we've actually got plenty of drinking water at the moment. We keep those 2 on deck. We'd always keep 1 on deck anyway, in case you need to abandon the boat. You want to take some fresh water with you, so if you've got time to do that. So the rest of the day really has been about listening to a bit of music. We finally broke out the iPod, or the iPhone, with its music on it, and plugged it into a little set of speakers, and been listening to a little Michael Bublé. And it's been about doing a little bit of reading. I'm actually rereading The Hobbit, because Peter Jackson, my fellow Kiwi, Peter Jackson, is currently making either a trilogy or 2 films to cover that book, and I have to say it's very nice reading. I haven't read it for donkey's years, and it's actually a very nice reading. Very pleasant book. Tolkien was a genius of literature for sure. And taking photographs, trying to take photographs of the wretched birds. Every time I pick up the camera, the birds go. Put the camera back down, put it below, and the birds come back. And they do cartwheels, they do headstands, they do dive bombing and twirls. But as soon as you go below and you come back up again, they go ha-ha, and they're off. Or so far away, they're a tiny speck on the horizon, absolutely useless to photograph. So it's very, very difficult to get pictures of them. You need to sort of sit here for hours and hours and hours and hours and hours, and then I could call myself a wildlife seabird photographer. But don't really think I've got the patience for that. So it's been about cooking, of course. Nicky does all of the cooking on here, virtually all of the cooking, which is absolutely wonderful for me. And the quid pro quo to that is I'll do all the grease monkey stuff, and then we share the rest of it. So again, it's a division of labour, and that's a little bit of a traditional and a cliched one. But nevertheless, if you, as long as you don't allow gender prejudice and all that stuff to get in the way, it just makes logical sense for people to go where their best skills lie, and particularly when the weather's a bit rough. And I think the arrangement works pretty well. We share most of the rest of it, the deck work, the reefing and all of that stuff we share. It's about taking bird baths, because we've noticed that we've become a little bit stinky after 6 or 7 days at sea. And Mr Bigglesworth, who is lying just there, once again in idle repose. Mr Bigglesworth stinks like an old tomcat, but I tell you, he's actually an old tomcat, so it's hardly any surprise at all. An old tomcat he is, bless him. Look at him, beautiful little pussycat. Likes having his ears tickled. Doesn't look like it, but he actually does. So having bird baths for ourselves, which really is, when the weather's rough, it really is a bird bath. We've found that the wet wipes that you use on babies' bums, they're very, very good for taking care of yourself, and not just your bum. It's very good for taking care of your other bits as well. When there's not enough water and the boat's a little bit up and downy. And of course, we've been sleeping. Probably sleeping a little bit too much. Maybe that's one of the reasons why both of us have been having headaches. I don't know. One of the things I just rigged up was the excuse me, we have an AIS system on here. It's an identification system for ships that works over VHF, so over very limited range, but essentially anything that comes within VHF range of your boat, if the ship itself is transmitting an AIS signal linked to its GPS, it will come up on your AIS receiver as being a vessel, its heading and its position and the distance off it is from you and its relative bearing from you. It's a very, very good safety piece of equipment. Now, we only have a receiver at the moment, but certainly when we get across to Europe we'll invest in a transmitter as well. It's one of those additional things. That's like a proactive radar antenna, radar reflector effectively. Very good safety piece of equipment. We've actually got ours set to a 2-mile range, and it will alarm if anything comes closer than 2 miles that has one of those AIS transmitters on them. So that's been our day so far. Mr Bigglesworth is now up and about, leaping around all over the place, doing headstands with frenetic energy, and on that note we shall leave you and speak to you again tomorrow, unless I've forgotten anything.
Oh no, you haven't forgotten anything, but ask me what I'm reading.
What are you reading, first mate and loved one?
I'm reading a book called The Passage by Justin Cronin. It's really good.
So that's us. Day 7. I'm not sure what it is in any other language. Drifting idly across the North Atlantic Ocean, gradually towards the port of Cherbourg in France, we hope. See you later.
There we
Tragedy.
Oh well. Day 7 aboard the good ship Koru.
Koru.
Aboard the good ship Koru.